Have you ever wondered what kinds of beers folks used to pop open back in the 1970s? Imagine a bustling pub where neon signs are glowing, a jukebox is playing Fleetwood Mac, and bartenders are serving some strong, quality beverages. Flashy beers and memorable tastes characterized the 1970s. In this video, we look at some of the best beers from the 1970s that have since faded into history. From local legends to national classics, these beers evoke memories of a simpler period when each sip told a tale. So grab your beloved drink, cozy up, and watch us as we toast 3 classic beers that shaped the 70s. Cheers. Number 1. Ballantine Ale XXX.
But there's more than memories behind Ballantine. Like cold brewing, it's an extra step Ballantine takes so every glassful tastes great.
Let's kick things off with Ballantine Ale XXX, a heavyweight in the beer industry recognized for its strong character and flavor. P. Ballantine & Sons Brewing Company introduced it in the 1950s, and it remained a popular choice all the way into the 70s. It was marketed as a premium brew. It was the type of beer you'd order to wow your buddies at a bar or drink at a backyard barbecue. The branding contributed to its appeal. The 3 overlapping rings on the label represented purity, body, and flavor, which they always retained. But as time passed, the formula altered and the beer lost part of its initial appeal. By the 1980s, it was competing with lighter beers and larger brands, which contributed to its demise. Today, finding an old can or bottle is a nostalgic treasure for people who recall the happy times spent with a cool Ballantine XXX. Number 2. Schlitz Malt Liquor Bowl.
Raise your right leg, then you put it down. Move your left leg forward, and your body too.
Okay, do you remember the bowl? This bad guy became famous for its edgy and striking branding. After being introduced by the Schlitz Brewing Company, it immediately gained popularity among customers seeking a strong beverage. With its powerful flavor and high alcohol content, it was marketed as a beer for men. Back in the day, you'd see it everywhere, including pubs and gatherings. If you saw a bull galloping across your screen, you knew something amazing was about to happen. Here's the twist. Schlitz was among the first to promote malt liquor as a step up from a normal beer. They relied heavily on the branding, making it appear more luxurious while keeping it affordable. But here's the thing, its strength was also its doom. The powerful flavor did not appeal to everyone. And as milder beers gained popularity, Schlitz Malt Liquor Bowl fell into obscurity. Nonetheless, for the bold drinkers of the 1970s, it was memorable. Number 3. Billy Beer.
Billy Beer!
Now, let's discuss Billy Beer. In this case, the tale was just as important as the beer. This beer remains a peculiar part of American history, named for President Jimmy Carter's brother, Billy Carter. Billy was open about his fondness for beer, and when he launched his own, it became an instant hit. Each can also included Billy's autograph and promised to be crisp and refreshing. But let's be honest, it wasn't the best tasting beer. Nevertheless, people purchased it for the name, the novelty, and perhaps to feel a bit rebellious. In the end, Billy Beer failed to compete with established brands. As soon as it soared to prominence, it fell flat when customers discovered there wasn't much unique about it beyond the brand gimmick. By the early 1980s, Billy Beer had vanished from shop shelves. Still, it has sentimental appeal for those who recall drinking this politically heated beer while watching the news. Number 4. Olympia Beer.
But we're here for the water. It's the water. Natural artesian water of Tumwater, Washington.
Next on our list is Olympia Beer, a Pacific Northwest staple. Olympia, known for its smooth flavor and appealing slogan, "It's the water," created headlines in the 1970s with its innovative brewing technique that prioritized high-quality ingredients. The beer had a clean finish, making it ideal for drinking on hot summer days or sharing with friends at backyard barbecues. Additionally, Olympia Beer made a few noteworthy advertising efforts that emphasized its regional heritage and sense of community. Throughout Washington state and beyond, the brand came to represent good times. However, Olympia had to contend with fierce competition as national brands began to take over the market. Over the years, the brewery's ownership changed many times, resulting in variable manufacturing quality that alienated patrons. Even though Olympia Beer had fallen into oblivion by the late 1980s, many people still have a soft spot in their hearts for it, particularly those who sipped its silky brew back when times were simple. Number 5. Peel's beer.
Well, we'd like you to try some draft beer in a can.
Pay attention, folks.
Hey, it's just as great. It's fresh and creamy.
Of course, it's Peel's Real Draft.
Next up is a beer with personality, Peel's beer. If you grew up in the 1970s, you surely remember the animated television commercials with Bert and Harry Peel, the silly cartoon characters that made everyone chuckle. This beer was brewed by Peel's Brewing Company in Brooklyn, New York. The beer was light, smooth, and easy, ideal for a relaxing afternoon with friends. With appealing jingles like Peel's, the beer that's always there, Peel's gained popularity among blue-collar workers searching for a cheap yet enjoyable beer after a hard day under the sun. However, when larger national brands took over shop shelves in the late 1970s, Peel's failed to maintain its market position. Despite many attempts at rebranding, Peel's sank into oblivion by the late 1980s, leaving behind memories of wonderful times spent with cold cans of this legendary beer. Today, Peel's is like an old buddy you haven't seen in years, gone, yet remembered fondly. Number 6. Country Club Malt Liquor. Moving on, we have Country Club Malt Liquor on our list. Back in the day, this beer hit the market with an image that shouted joy and excitement, ideal for those eager to party hard. Country Club Malt Liquor targets youthful drinkers looking for something robust without breaking the bank. The package was modest, yet it had a certain appeal, as if it understood precisely what it was. The brand even launched memorable advertising showing lively gatherings where everyone shared their country club drinks, a genuine celebration of teenage culture. There were no pretenses. It was simply a decent, strong drink for the people. However, when tastes evolved toward lighter alternatives later in the decade, combined with increased competition from major brands, Country Club Malt Liquor quickly lost popularity. By the early 1980s, this once popular malt liquor had vanished from shop shelves, but not before leaving behind many memories of fantastic nights spent drinking from cool cans. Number 7. Colt 45.
Mind if I join you?
You must have read my mind.
Something like that.
The power of Colt 45. It works every time.
Classic 70s branding. Moving forward, we have Colt 45, the malt liquor that became renowned due to its iconic label. National Brewing Company launched Colt 45 in 1963, but it grew in popularity throughout the 70s. It was touted as the perfect combination of quality and value. With a powerful taste profile crammed into each can, it immediately gained popularity among consumers seeking something strong but smooth. Colt 45 also profited from smart advertising campaigns starring renowned people such as Billy D. Williams, who epitomized cool while promoting this popular malt whiskey. The ad showed friends enjoying drinks at informal gatherings, a sentiment that resonated deeply with consumers looking to bond over cold beer and shared experiences. However, like many malt liquors, it failed to maintain its position when new trends evolved. Colt 45 is still in production today, although its sales are far below the figures it enjoyed during its heyday. Number 8. Michelob Classic Dark.
Michelob Classic Dark, with the richness of dark beer, the smoothness of Michelob.
Now, let's shine some light on Michelob Classic Dark, a beer that stood out in an age dominated by lighter choices. Anheuser-Busch introduced this dark beer in 1978, and it rapidly became famous due to its rich taste profile, which had roasted malt flavors balanced well against hints of caramel sweetness. Michelob Classic Dark appealed especially to those looking for depth in their beverages while yet appreciating the ease of drinking. Its distinct flavor made it ideal for mixing with heavy meals or sipping gently while meeting up with friends after work. Unfortunately, as consumer preferences evolved toward lighter lagers during the next decades, Michelob Classic Dark failed to compete with larger national brands for market share. By the late 1980s, it had quietly vanished from stores, but not without leaving treasured memories among admirers who valued its distinct personality. Number 9. Cutie Pole 14K Lager.
It happened on an early run with a load of 14K as Pete and Mac began to stock the Rising Moon Cafe.
The next beer on our list is Cutie Pole 14K Lager, which has a heritage stretching nearly a century. It originated in Cincinnati and gained popularity in the 1970s because of innovative marketing efforts stressing high-quality ingredients paired with traditional brewing processes. It was the beer you drank when you were looking for something dependable, simple, and delicious. Cutie Pole 14K Lager was stood out from the competition not simply for its smooth taste, taste, but also because it targeted exclusively local communities looking for unique flavors that reflected their background. Its popularity skyrocketed in Ohio, where dedicated fans embraced this vintage beer fully. Number 10. Rheingold Beer.
My beer is Rheingold, the dry beer.
Think of Rheingold whenever you buy beer.
If you lived in New York during the 1970s, you'd remember Rheingold beer to be almost a household name. Known as the dry beer, it gained popularity through ingenious advertising efforts with enticing ads like, "My Rheingold is Rheingold." Rheingold had a clean, crisp flavor that went well with pizza, pretzels, and ball games. It appealed mostly to blue-collar workers looking for inexpensive solutions without sacrificing quality. It became popular at neighborhood pubs across New York City, where people congregated after work. What truly made Rheingold unique was the Miss Rheingold contest, in which fans could vote for their favorite model to represent the company. It was a big deal, like a beer-themed beauty contest. However, when tastes evolved toward lighter beers over the following decades, Rheingold found itself competing with larger brands, eventually leading to a decline until manufacturing halted entirely. For those who drank Rheingold back then, it's an unforgettable part of their drinking history. Number 11. Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Pabst Blue Ribbon beer. Pabst is the beer that speaks for itself. It speaks with authority.
Pabst Blue Ribbon. What a memorable name. This classic beer has been around since 1844, but it really took off in the 1970s, when it became linked with working-class culture across America. This was thanks primarily to excellent marketing efforts aimed at regular folks searching for solid beers without breaking the bank. So what was Pabst's hidden weapon? Well, it was the distinctive blue ribbons. They gave the beer an old-school feel, like something your grandfather would pass down. Known informally as PBR, it soon gained popularity due not just to its affordability, but also to its powerful taste profile. While PBR suffered issues in the following decades, it emerged remarkably well recently, with newer generations inclined to retro vibes that celebrate simplicity over flashiness, making PBR a treasured classic that is still enjoyed today. Number 12. Stroh's Bohemian Style Beer. Stroh's Bohemian-style beer was a beverage with one interesting backstory. A German immigrant named Bernard Stroh found this beer in Detroit, which immediately became a local favorite. It was made using fire brewing methods, which resulted in a distinctive caramelized flavor and a finely balanced hop bitterness and rich malty characteristics. For beer enthusiasts in the 1970s, it was like discovering a secret jewel. By the mid-20th century, Stroh's had grown to be one of the major brewers in the United States, renowned for its quality and workmanship. Recently, Pabst Brewing Company reintroduced Stroh's Bohemian-style Pilsner, reviving a bit of Detroit's brewing history. Brewed with a reference to its original formula, this new version seeks to capture the essence of the past while appealing to current customers. Stroh's Bohemian-style beer is now both a sentimental remembrance of Detroit's brewing history and a tribute to the durability of local companies in a competitive market. Number 13. Pearl Beer. Pearl Beer was a local legend down in Texas. It was more than simply a beverage. It was an integral aspect of the Lone Star State's character. Pearl was a beer that was brewed in San Antonio and was typically found during barbecues, rodeos, and other gatherings where people were having a wonderful time. How about the taste? It was somehow clean, crisp, and refreshing. Everything you needed after a long, hot day. It wasn't attempting to be fancy. It was beer for the common guy. However, Pearl began to lose its luster when larger brands entered the market. It was less of a national competitor by the late 1970s and more of a regional memory. However, Pearl will always be remembered by Texans as the drink that united people beneath the expansive Texas sky. Number 14. National Bohemian.
But brands, they're only side dishes to serve with national beer. National beer, we'll pour out the story of national beer.
Natty Boh. In the 1970s, if you lived close to Baltimore, you were undoubtedly familiar with National Bohemian, or Natty Boh, as the locals referred to it. This brew was popular throughout the mid-Atlantic region. It was more than just a beer. It represented local pride. It had personality for days, especially with its iconic one-eyed mustachioed mascot. Natty Boh was the go-to beer for crab feasts, Orioles games, and simply simply relaxing with friends. Its light, crisp flavor made it a clear favorite, and the price? Let's just say it wasn't too expensive. Therefore, it was kept on hand in many refrigerators. However, when beer corporations began to dominate the market, Natty Boh lost ground. Production relocated out of Baltimore, making it tougher to find. Still, for some who remember it, opening a can of Natty Boh made them feel at home. Number 15. Schaefer Beer. Finally, we have Schaefer Beer. Born in New York City, this beer was for folks who knew what they loved. Its tagline said it all. Schaefer is the one beer to have when you're having more than one. This beer gained popularity throughout most of America throughout the 70s. It was all thanks to savvy marketing methods aimed at working-class people looking for inexpensive choices without compromising quality. It was the go-to beer for gatherings, picnics, and nights spent around a campfire. It wasn't fancy, but that's what made it fantastic. It was dependable, inexpensive, and consistently met expectations. As the Brooklyn Dodgers' official beer in the past, Schaefer even enjoyed a brief period of fame. However, its popularity began to decline by the 1970s. It subsequently lost ground to larger companies and became more of a relic than a mainstay. Schaefer, however, was more than simply a beer for those who knew it. It embodied a good time in a can. And there you have it, beers from the 1970s that once dominated the scene but are now mostly memories. Every brew was unique due to its flavor and tail, whether it was Billy Beer or Ballantine XXX Ale. These drinks were more than simply drinks. They were part of our lives and culture. Sure, they're no longer on shop shelves, but they live on via memories, nostalgia, and those moments that made life sweet. Maybe you're recalling one right now, a flavor, a fragrance, or a label that takes you straight back. Do you have a favorite beer from the list? Please let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell for more retro vibes. Until next time, cheers to history in a can.